The 16th of May 1943. 23:28 hours. Möhne Reservoir, Germany. The water is unnaturally still. Moonlight stretches across the reservoir like cold metal, unbroken, silent, deceptive. The dam rises at the far end of the valley, thick concrete, immovable, its curved face swallowing the darkness behind it. Then the sound comes. Low, fast, growing. Not the distant hum of high-altitude bombers, but something intimate and wrong, engines tearing through the valley itself. A German sentry on the dam stiffens, eyes searching the sky where aircraft do not belong at this height. Out of the darkness, a shape erupts. A four-engine Lancaster, blacked out and massive, screams across the water at barely 60 feet. Its propellers whip spray into pale arcs. The aircraft shadow races beside it across the reservoir, stretched long and warped, like a second machine trying to keep up. Inside the cockpit, the pilot's world has collapsed to three numbers. Airspeed, altitude, distance. Nothing else exists. The control column is steady in his hands, knuckles white. One correction too much, and the bomber will cartwheel into the water, killing everyone before the enemy ever fires a shot. Under the fuselage, two spotlights burn. Their beams strike the water at separate points, too far apart. The pilot eases a nose down. The reflections slide closer together, trembling on the black surface. Closer, closer. They touch. That is the height. Exactly 60 feet. Perfect. Or fatal. Floodlights blaze to life along the dam. The night explodes into white. Beams lock onto the Lancaster, pinning it in sudden brilliance. Anti-aircraft guns open fire from towers on either side of the wall. Tracer rounds rip upward, red and orange streaks snapping past the cockpit. The wings, the tail. The rear gunner shouts. The flight engineer watches gauges flicker. No one looks back. There is no room for fear now, only precision. The bomb aimer lies flat in the nose, pressed against the glass, staring straight down the aircraft spine at the rushing wall ahead. The dam grows larger with terrifying speed, concrete filling the windscreen. He does not count seconds. He counts distance. Steady. The pilot says, voice calm, almost attached. The Lancaster holds its line, skimming the surface, engine screaming in protest. Flak bursts rock the aircraft. A shell tears through fabric and metal on the wingtip. The bomber shudders, but keeps flying. The dam is enormous now. A wall at the end of the world. Now! The release clunks through the airframe. The bomb drops. For a fraction of a second, it vanishes into the dark. Then it hits the water. And bounces. Once. Clean. Perfect. Throwing spray skyward. Twice. Skipping forward with unnatural grace. Spinning backward exactly as its designer promised. The Lancaster roars overhead, clearing the crest of the dam by yards, engines clawing for altitude as the pilot wrenches the aircraft away down the valley. Behind them, the bomb slams into the wall. There is a pause. A heartbeat stretched thin. Then the explosion hammers the dam's face, a deep, brutal concussion that throws water high into the air. The valley shakes. Concrete cracks, but the wall still stands. For now, inside the escaping bomber, no one speaks. They are already diving low again, racing through darkness and flak, knowing what that moment means. If the dam did not break, someone else must try. And someone else already is. Out over the reservoir, another Lancaster drops lower. Another pair of spotlights converges on the water. Another crew commits to the same impossible run, knowing exactly how exposed they are, knowing exactly what happened to the aircraft before them. This is not a bombing raid. It is repetition under fire. A test of physics, nerve, and belief. They called the idea fantasy. They laughed at it in briefing rooms. But tonight, bombs are bouncing, and the wall is beginning to weaken. Winter 1942. England. The room is warm with coal heat and doubt. Blueprints lie across the table. Curves where straight lines should be. Equations that seem to ignore instinct. Senior officers sit back in their chairs, arms folded, expressions carefully neutral. They have heard bold ideas before. Most of them ended in funerals. At the center stands Barnes Wallis. He is not a bomber pilot. He does not wear wings. He speaks softly, methodically, as if explaining something inevitable rather than extraordinary. A cylindrical bomb, he says, tapping the drawing, given backspin. Release at low altitude. It will skip across the water, over the torpedo nets, into the dam wall. Silence. Then a short, disbelieving laugh. Someone shakes his head. You're suggesting we win the war by skipping bombs like stones. Wallis nods. Yes. The objections come fast. The dams are thick, curved, reinforced, designed to survive disasters, not single strikes. Torpedo nets guard the approaches. Anti-aircraft guns dominate the walls. And the delivery profile, low, straight, slow, is suicidal. Training alone will cost lives. Operational losses will be worse. The idea is dismissed, then reconsidered, then argued over again, until the numbers are run. If the dams fall, the Ruhr floods, power stations drown, factories grind to a halt, coal production collapses, rail lines vanish beneath water and debris. Not for days, for months. The laughter fades, because suddenly, fantasy looks like leverage. Approval comes quietly. No ceremony, no headlines, just a directive passed down in sealed envelopes. A new unit is formed in secrecy, number 617 Squadron RAF. Its crews are handpicked, men with thousands of hours, nerves already tested by survival. Their aircraft are stripped and rebuilt, turrets removed, bomb bays torn open to cradle a strange spinning weapon that looks nothing like a bomb at all. Training is relentless. Night after night, Lancasters skim English reservoirs at mast height. Pilots fly so low their prop wash guards the water. Hills loom out of darkness without warning. Mist becomes lethal. Spotlights are bolted beneath wings, crude, improvised tools. When their beams meet on the water, the aircraft is at exactly 60 feet. 10 feet too high, the bomb will fail. 10 feet too low, the aircraft will die. Crashes happen. Men are buried without explanation. No one complains. They fly again. At the squadron's head stands Guy Gibson, calm, precise, unforgiving. He does not promise survival. He promises clarity. Runs will be exact. Timing absolute. Hesitation will kill faster than flak. When the final briefing comes, the room is silent. 3 targets. Möhne, Edersee. The operation has a name that sounds almost gentle. Operation Chastise. No one is fooled. Across the channel, German engineers sleep easily. The dams have stood for decades. Their defenses are layered. Their walls are thick. The idea that aircraft could destroy them at night, flying low and straight, is dismissed outright. It is fantasy. Back in England, engines are warmed. Maps are folded. Crews write letters they may never send. Because the idea everyone laughed at is no longer theory. It is aircraft. It has men. And it has a date. The 16th of May 1943. 23:10 hours. Ruhr Valley Airspace. The hills arrive without warning. Dark shapes surge up from the valley floor, filling the windscreen, forcing the Lancaster lower still. The pilot eases the throttles, feeling the aircraft sink into the terrain, flying not above the land but through it. Trees flash beneath the fuselage. A farmhouse slips past the port wing, so close the crew can see the pale blur of its roof. One mistake here, one gust, one misjudged correction, and the bomber will disintegrate before it ever reaches a target. Inside the cockpit, no one speaks. Every man knows his phase of the mission is more dangerous than the dam itself. The navigator checks his stopwatch. Luminous hands crawl forward. The numbers align. Ahead, the valley opens suddenly. The reservoir spreads out below them, black, broad, waiting. And at its far end, the dam sits like a scar across the earth, pale against the night. Then the lights snap on. Floodlights erupt along the dam's crest, turning darkness into blinding white. Beams lock onto the Lancaster instantly, pinning it like an insect on a board. Anti-aircraft guns answer a heartbeat later. Flak bursts crack open the sky. Trace of fire lashes upward in violent arcs, red and orange lines slashing past the cockpit, past the wings, past the tail. The noise is overwhelming. Engines, explosions, the rattle of shrapnel hammering the fuselage. The Lancaster does not climb. It sinks. Lower. The pilot nudges a nose down until the twin spotlights beneath the wings carve 2 trembling scars on the water surface. The reflections slide inward, quivering with every ripple. Too high. Adjust. Too low. Adjust again. They meet. 60 feet. Exactly. The bomb aimer presses himself flat against the nose glazing, eyes locked on the damn wall rushing toward them. He shuts out everything else. The flak, the noise, the instinct to flinch. There is only geometry now. Only distance. Trace of fire intensifies. A burst rips past the starboard wing. Another slams close enough to shake the aircraft violently. The flight engineer watches gauges flicker, waiting for something to fail. Nothing does. The pilot's hands are steady, jaw clenched, muscles rigid with the effort of holding the aircraft perfectly level. The dam fills a windscreen, concrete racing toward them at impossible speed. This is the point of no return. Stand by, the bomb aimer says. The Lancaster roars on, straight at the wall. Stand by. Every nerve screams to pull up. Training smothers it. Now! The release clunks. The bomb drops, spinning backward as it strikes the water. Spray erupts in a white arc. The weapon skips, once, clean and perfect, then again, racing toward the dam as if guided by invisible rails. The Lancaster clears the crest by yards. The pilot slams the throttles forward and hauls the aircraft into a savage turn, diving away down the valley as trace of fire tears through the space they occupied seconds earlier. Behind them, the bomb hits. The explosion is deep and brutal, a violence felt more than heard. Water surges skyward, hammering the dam's face. The shockwave ripples through the valley, rattling the Lancaster as it escapes into darkness. Inside the cockpit, no one cheers. They look back. The dam still stands. Cracked, scarred, but standing, which means the arithmetic has not changed. Another Lancaster is already lining up. Then another. The reservoir becomes a killing ground. One aircraft takes a direct hit on its run. It vanishes in a blinding flash, fragments scattering across the water. No parachutes, no calls, just absence where a call existed seconds before. The next pilot does not break off. He drops lower. Spotlights meet. Bomb away. Again the weapon skips. Again it strikes. Again the dam absorbs a blow, groaning under forces it was never meant to endure. Cracks spread like veins across the concrete face. Water begins to seep through places that were solid minutes before. The wall flexes, strained, wounded. Inside a circling Lancaster, a crewman stares through the side window, breath held. The dam shudders. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the concrete gives way. A section collapses inward with a grinding roar. The reservoir surges forward, spilling through the breach in a white, unstoppable torrent. Millions of tons of water hurl themselves into the valley below. The impossible has happened. The Möhne Dam is broken, but there is no time to absorb it. Fuel is low. Aircraft are missing. And in another valley, another dam still stands, waiting. The 16th of May 1943. After midnight, central Germany. The flood announces itself before it is seen. A deep, advancing roar rolls through the valleys downstream of the Möhne, lower than thunder, constant, growing. Windows rattle. Dogs howl. Then the water arrives, not as a wave but as a moving wall, choked with debris and fury. Trees are torn out by the roots. Bridges snap and vanish. Rail lines buckle as the surge smashes into them. Power stations drown in minutes. Turbines choking as the Ruhr's electrical pulse falters and dies. Factories go dark, not because of bombs, but because water has found its way inside the war. In the air, the raid fractures. Formations dissolve into solitary aircraft, each crew navigating alone through hostile night. Radios crackle with clipped call signs and long stretches of silence, names spoken once, then never answered again. Some crews turn south toward the Eder Dam. It is a worse target. The valley twists and tightens, offering no straight run. Hills rise abruptly on either side, forcing pilots to dive, climb, and bank hard in darkness before leveling at the last possible second. There is no margin left to trade. Floodlights snap on. Flak erupts. A Lancaster shudders as trace of fire claws past the cockpit. The pilot fights the controls, dropping low enough that the aircraft shadow races along the hillside beside them. Spotlights beneath the wings burn twin scars on the water. They meet. Bomb away. The weapon bounces, but the dam is earth-filled, not solid concrete. The explosion is violent, shaking the valley, throwing water and debris skyward. The wall holds. Another run. Another aircraft. One Lancaster clips a hillside and disintegrates in a blinding flash, the shockwave rolling across the valley. The aircraft behind it flies straight through the smoke and presses on. They cannot stop now. Finally, after repeated strikes, the Eder gives way. The earthen wall slumps, then collapses, releasing a second torrent that races towards sleeping towns downstream, places that will be drowning before dawn. Farther east, crews reach the Sorp Dam. This is the hardest of all. An earth dam with heavy defenses. It cannot be attacked with a bounce. The bomb must be dropped directly along the crest. Straight, level, exposed, under sustained fire. The Lancasters line up anyway. Run after run. Flak chews at wings and fuselages. One bomb detonates too far out. Another strikes but fails to break the wall cleanly. The dam shudders, wounded but defiant. Eventually, enough damage is done to force emergency repairs. Not a dramatic breach, but a strategic wound that will bleed manpower and resources for months. As the surviving aircraft turn for home, dawn begins to thin the darkness. Fuel gauges hover near zero. Engines run rough. Crews fly by calculation and faith, skimming terrain to avoid fighters that never arrive, or arrive too late. Over the North Sea, the tension finally loosens. The sky lightens. England emerges from the haze. At bases across the country, ground crews count aircraft as they land. They stop counting too soon. 19 took off. 8 are missing. 53 men are gone. The survivors climb down in silence, faces gray, eyes distant, uniforms stiff with sweat and fear. They know what the night has taken. They also know what it has done. Across Germany, sirens wail as floodwaters tear through valleys. Repair crews scramble. Defenses multiply around every dam, every bridge, every structure once assumed safe. But something essential has already been lost. Certainty. Because if walls like these can fall, what else can? The 17th of May 1943. Dawn. England. The airfields wake under a thin veil of mist. Runways glisten. Engines idle. Men stand with clipboards and stopwatches, eyes fixed on the eastern sky. Every distance speck is counted. Every shape is judged, hoped for, feared. A Lancaster appears. Then another. Damaged aircraft limp and low. Flaps hanging, oil streaking their fuselages. Tires hit concrete. Engines wind down. Crews climb out slowly, stiff with cold and shock, some smiling without knowing why, others unable to speak at all. Ground crews count. And then they stop. The number is wrong. 19 aircraft crossed the coast. 8 did not return. 53 men are missing, names that will be read aloud in rooms where no one will meet each other's eyes. In briefing rooms, the maps are marked. Möhne, breached. Eder, breached. Sorp, damaged. Flood paths trace in blue pencil snake through the Ruhr, swallowing rail yards, power stations, factories. The damage assessments are blunt. Industrial output disrupted. Electrical generation crippled. Repairs already underway. The impact will not be permanent, but the meaning will be. Across Germany, emergency crews work without pause. Prisoners and forced labor are driven to the dams under floodlights. Concrete is poured day and night. Anti-aircraft guns multiply around every reservoir, every bridge, every structure once considered beyond reach. The landscape of confidence is altered, because the question now is not what can be defended, but how long. Back in Britain, a quiet man studies the reports alone. Barnes Wallis does not celebrate. He understands the arithmetic too well. Lives traded for proof. Men lost to turn equations into reality. The idea once dismissed as fantasy has done what brute force could not. It has changed assumptions. For the men of No. 617 Squadron IAF, the night becomes legend and burden in equal measure. They will never again be ordinary aircrew. They will be sent where precision matters more than safety, where there is no margin left to borrow. History will remember the spectacle, the bouncing bombs, the collapsing dams, the floodwaters tearing through valleys in the dark. But those who were there remember something smaller, the twin spotlights touching on black water, the moment when there was no escape left, only faith in training, in physics, in the men beside you. They called it fantasy. They laughed at it, until concrete cracked and valleys filled. And in that breaking of walls, of certainty, of belief, air power across a line it would never step back from. Because once the impossible is proven possible, nothing ever feels untouchable again.